we're going to go ahead and get started. We have a lot to cover today, so really thrilled that you are spending part of your Friday with us. Thank you so much for joining us today for integrating climate into your MBA session presented by Climate Cap. I am Jessica Wengert, Program Lead for Climate Cap based out of Duke's Fuqua School of Business. And we're really excited to have you here with us to discuss this incredibly important and timely topic. As you probably know, the business implications of climate are presenting material financial impacts on the private sector, creating challenges, opportunities, and new ways of doing business. And as the world around us continues to evolve quite rapidly, it's become increasingly important that all MBA graduates, regardless of their role or industry, understand climate and its broader economic and social implications in order to succeed in their careers. So in today's session, we'll talk through many of the different ways that you can build skills and climate expertise during your MBA experience and prepare yourself to be the business leader that you want to be that's contributing to climate solutions. So I'll start by going over the agenda for today. We're going to start with a brief introduction about Climate Cap, and then we'll have the representatives from our participating schools introduce themselves. The bulk of our time together will be in a round robin question and answer session, providing answers to some of the most common questions that we hear from students who are interested in integrating climate into their MBA. Our representatives will be answering these questions at a higher level, talking about the general MBA experience and saving any school-specific information for the breakout sessions at the end of the session today. After we answer those general questions, we'll transition into the breakout rooms for the balance of the session, where you can hop in and out of breakout rooms as you like. With the representatives from the different schools and discuss any school-specific questions that you have. And the breakout rooms will close at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. We have representatives from each of the schools listed here on this slide. So I'm going to start with having them briefly introduce themselves and their school. And again, you'll hear a lot more from them when we move to the round robin. We're going to go in alphabetical order like we have on the slide. So Katie, would you like to kick us off by introducing yourself, your role, and your school?
Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Cross. I am Managing Director of the Center for Energy Development and the Global Environment at Duke's Fuqua School of Business.
Brian, you can go ahead and hop in.
Fantastic. My name is Brian Goebel. I'm the Managing Director of the Business and Society Institute at Emory University's Goizueta Business School. And I'm excited to be joined by some of our amazing MBAs today, CD and Maddie, as well, that will join us during the breakout group. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for your interest in exciting work around climate.
Thanks. Fordham team.
Hi, everyone. My name is Leanne Statuto. I'm the Executive Director of the Responsible Business Center at Fordham Gabelli. And my colleague, Joe Diegues, is also on the line, if you want to say a quick hello.
Hi, everybody. Joe Diegues, Director of Career Development here at Fordham Gabelli School of Business. Happy to be here today.
Lynn, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lynn Schenk. I'm the Director of the Business and Environment Initiative at Harvard Business School.
HEC team, we'll start with Helene.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Hélène Musicas, and I'm a strategy professor at HEC Paris and leading our MBA specialization on sustainability. And I have a colleague here who's going to speak next.
Yeah, thank you very much, Fernando Diaz-Lopez, also at HEC Paris. I am the Executive Director of our Climate and Earth Center. Very happy to be here.
Jen.
Hi, everyone. Jen Graham. I'm Senior Associate Director within the MIT Sloan Sustainability Initiative, housed within the MIT Sloan School of Management.
Thanks. Kat.
Hi, I'm Kat Baird. I am the Director of Sustainability at UC Berkeley's Haas School of Business.
Thank you. We have Kia.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kia Coleman. I'm the Director of Business and Societies Programs at the Restandi Center for Social Sector Innovation at the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. And I'm really excited to be here, and I can't wait to talk to you all.
Thanks. Michigan team, Herb team.
Hi, my name is Melissa Zaksik. I'm the Managing Director of the Herb Institute. We are housed within the Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan, and I am joined by my colleague, whose name is also Melissa. Melissa Coveney is our Student Affairs Manager.
Thanks. Jillian, I saw you were here from Wharton.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. Thanks, Jessica, for bringing us together. My name is Jillian Seener. I'm the Director of Student Programs at the ESG Initiative, which is housed at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania.
Gregory?
My name is Gregory Heller. I am the Senior Associate Director of Career Management for the Foster School of Business and am one of the coaches who specializes in supporting our students that are pursuing careers in sustainability.
Thank you. And Stu?
I'm Stu DeQ from the Yale School of Management. I'm the Executive Director of the Yale Center for Business and the Environment, which is a joint initiative between the Yale School of the Environment and the Yale School of Management. And I'm also a lecturer at the Yale School of the Environment. Great to have you all here.
Thank you so much. I just want to take a pause and appreciate the fact that the absolute experience and expertise of the educators that you have on this call is really special. So really excited to have this conversation today. I think it's rare to bring this this much experience together in a room. So really excited for the wisdom that they're going to share with you today. So I wanted to just take a minute or two and talk about Climate Cap a little bit more broadly, since many of you are new to Climate Cap. We were founded with the mission to prepare tomorrow's business leaders, which is hopefully you all future MBAs, to understand and respond to the climate challenge by mainstreaming the climate conversation in business school. Climate Cap was founded and is led by us here at Fuqua, but we are a global partnership of 49 business schools, 12 of which are on the call today. We work really closely with the staff and faculty at those schools on a number of different initiatives, including our MBA Summit, MBA Fellowship, and MBA Academy Virtual Learning Series. And I just mentioned our 49 partner schools, and I wanted to highlight some of the schools which support Climate Cap at the leading and supporting partner level. We want to thank them for making this program and a lot of our other initiatives possible. So for those of you who are prospective MBAs, you can check out the list of all of our partner schools and link directly to their websites from ours. Hopefully you've heard of the MBA Summit by now, but if not, this is our flagship event every year, bringing together hundreds of MBA students from around the country to network and learn about climate and business. Many students cite this event as a highlight of their MBA experience, getting the chance to come together with like-minded students from around the world to network and learn about climate and business leadership. Our most recent summit was hosted by the UC Berkeley Haas team in February, and we'll be releasing more details about our upcoming spring 2026 summit soon. The dates for that are April 17th and 18th. Tickets for the summit will go on sale later in the fall, so be sure you're signed up for our mailing list to make sure you get to hear about the speakers and the agenda and the ticket sales later this year. And if you're curious about what the event has looked like in the past, recordings and the agendas of all of our previous summits are available on our website. And just a hot tip, since you're early to the Climate Cap community, tickets for this event sell out very quickly, usually within a few hours. So be sure to subscribe to our mailing list so you're notified when those tickets go on sale. And next, I want to highlight the Climate Cap MBA Fellowship, which empowers our fellows to become the next generation of climate leaders and change makers. We're thrilled that we have 16 fellows for 2025, and you can see all of their lovely smiling faces on the slide. Key elements of the fellowship include learning and development sessions, networking, and self-directed project work where students design and implement a climate action project of their choice. And then throughout the fellowship, students also receive mentorship and attend cohort building activities virtually. And applications for the next cohort will open later this fall. And again, finding out more about that is available on our website and through our mailing list. And lastly, I wanted to just mention our virtual learning programs, specifically the MBA Academy. This is a virtual learning series where we bring thought leaders directly to you throughout the academic year, giving you the chance to learn from business leaders, academics, and entrepreneurs about timely and important climate and business topics. We recently completed our last session of the spring, but you can visit our website to see the recordings of the past events, and they make a great primer, especially for those of you who are coming into school this year who are looking to get up to speed on some of today's biggest topics. Previous speakers have included the CFO of Levi's, the president of the Apparel Impact Institute, and many other academics and educators from our partner schools. But if you have any questions about any of the Climate Cap specific programming, feel free to reach out to me after the session, or I will stay here in the main room during the breakouts, and I'm happy to answer any of those questions in real time. But now we're going to transition to the round robin of questions about integrating climate into your MBA. So as a group, we selected some of the most common questions that we all hear from prospective and incoming students about this topic. And as I mentioned, representatives from each school are going to answer one. Schools are going to target their response at that general MBA level for this larger group, but will be available in the breakouts at the end to provide additional school-specific information. So feel free to jot down any questions that you have for them as we go, and you can get those questions answered in the breakouts. And with that, we're going to start with our first question. I'm passionate about solving the climate crisis. Why should I get an MBA? Katie?
Hi, everyone. I love answering this question. I know that some of you all are already committed and incoming MBA students, but some of you might just be considering whether you should do an MBA versus another graduate degree. All of us here obviously representing MBA programs, and one of the exciting things about having an MBA is that it gives you a lot of flexibility and it sets you up with skills in a lot of different disciplines. So as an MBA student, you will take classes in finance, accounting, marketing, strategy, operations, leadership, and management. And you will be prepared for a wide range of careers with that skill set. And we need all of those skills if we are going to solve the climate crisis. So many of you already know the scale of the climate crisis is just tremendous. The figures estimating the challenge, the size of the challenge, just to give you one, the Energy Transition Commission estimates that transitioning our global economy to a net zero or carbon neutral economy will cost $110 trillion in global capital investment between 2021 and 2050. So that is $3.5 trillion per year. Some estimates put the number even higher. That is a lot of work to be done. We are going to need policy experts, engineers, climate scientists, but we also are going to need private sector leadership. We are going to need marketers. We're going to need operations specialists. We're going to need innovators, entrepreneurs. We're going to need corporate CEOs, everyone working on the climate challenge. And having the MBA is going to give you a lot of flexibility in terms of how you can help contribute to solving the climate crisis. So whether that's using your business skills to work directly on investing in and commercializing new climate technologies, or reconfiguring supply chains to have smaller carbon footprints and become more resilient, or helping us message to consumers how to think about their climate footprint. There's just a ton of work to be done, and we need a ton of MBA skills and MBAs, every MBA working on climate. I just want to add that with an MBA, most of our MBAs do want to work either as an investor or working in the private sector. But the skills that you would get as an MBA absolutely prepare you for leadership in other sectors, including NGOs and government. So if you're wanting to apply those skills of finance, operations, leadership, marketing in another sector, that is totally a viable option too. So I hope that no matter what you do as an MBA, there's a lot of ways to contribute and a lot of options for you to think about as you go forward in your career.
Thanks, Katie. Our next question, what are some of the examples of post-MBA careers where I can work directly on climate solutions? Are any of these better or more impactful than others?
Yeah, thanks, Jessica. And thank you, Katie, because I think you really gave us such a great foundation to answer this question and so many of the other questions we're going to cover today. And I love this question too, because there's really so many good answers, right? There's no one career path that is better or more impactful than others, because it really all depends on what kind of career you want and what type of impact you'd like to have. So some examples of careers that we see students taking all the time are in the policy or advocacy sector, right? So you might want to work for a climate justice organization or a think tank or a philanthropic organization, or really kind of on the ground in community development groups and having that on the ground person-to-person impact. Or maybe you want to work in the more traditional finance roles such as PE or VC, where you can support sustainable investing to help drive solutions to the climate crisis. Another kind of option that we see students gravitating towards is in climate communications, right? So working with NGOs or other media organizations, or really any organization that wants to get the word out and help educate the public on these climate issues. Of course, consulting or business strategy is another popular option with a lot of our students, where you can work to improve individual organizations' sustainability efforts. So as we've kind of already been saying, and you'll hear it a lot today, climate is becoming really, really important to so many career paths, to so many companies and organizations. And so you'll have a number of options that you can choose from after your MBA as to how you want to make a difference. And what's important for you in your MBA is to learn about all those different avenues, talk to a lot of people, shadow people, do coffee chats, try different opportunities so you can decide for yourself how you want to be engaged post MBA. Do you want to work on the ground with people? Do you want to work behind the scenes? Do you want to work kind of high level policy or finance roles? All of these are great options, and there are so many more out there as well. And all of them are really going to be critical in making sure that we have a sustainable future. And I think we're going to go into some more of those specifics in the next question.
Thank you so much. Our next question is, what are some of the more popular employers for MBAs interested in working on climate?
Great, thanks. So I think when you think about the employers that come and like offer opportunities at MBA programs, I would frame it as like sailboats and cruise ships. You know, there's really large vessels that will show up on a regular basis, pick up lots of people at specific times and kind of bring them into industries. And those are the traditional ones of kind of finance, consulting, technology, consumer packaged goods, and others. And you really want to think about with that regular sort of stop, like how many more passengers are climate focused or sustainability focused, and what are the roles that they have in those. And so you do see, you know, specific groups at the large hyperscalers like an Amazon or a Microsoft or, you know, a Google that have really significant and growing sustainability or climate portfolios that you'd have in there. You also see a lot of the big consulting firms that have large and growing practices, where previously people had to work in a generalist role for a number of years, but now folks are actually being hired directly into sustainability groups. And then you see the other kind of larger in manufacturing and operations. In particular, I would say where people have a skill set in supply chain management, something that's becoming more and more critical, you'll find a lot of people hiring and looking for folks in those roles. Now, the other one, and this is where it gets into specific flavors of each MBA program and which ones, is like there's an increasing number of sailboats that show up that have sort of smaller, more bespoke and unique opportunities that you then have to consider, okay, what does it look like at, you know, Fordham or Duke or Yale or SOM, and where are those coming in and what does that look like and where are the clusters? And in venture capital, in early stage companies, in something like even the green bank movement, and where you have like an increasing number of institutions that are directly focused on clean or green finance, like you'll have clusters there that you'll find, and there will be kind of pockets of alumni that actually drive those. And then on the last one, I would say, like Katie brought this up, but this increased investment, you know, you go from something where we need to add like $2 to $3 trillion a year of increasing investment in the energy transition. There is a whole fleet that is actually coming that needs to take people on for the clean energy transition. And that's renewable energy developers, finance folks, people who are doing kind of the deployment. And this is like everybody from the large public utilities across the globe that work in Europe, in the United States, everywhere, to the large renewable energy project developers like your RWEs and your NextEras and your Avangrid Renewables, to kind of the range of other folks who are in kind of the supply of the technology or the delivery of the finance or anything along those lines. So that is a huge and growing sector that's kind of reached escape velocity in terms of the number of people that are being hired in it and they need to bring in. So you really kind of look at where these trends are as you're coming into each and what the specific flavors of each MBA program is.
Great, thanks so much, Stu. Next question, very timely, how are the current federal policy changes in the US and abroad affecting climate hiring? Should I change my career plan? Kat, what do you have for us?
Yes, so this is the big question, isn't it? And I think I will be absolutely honest, there is not a clear answer to this question yet. I think anybody working in this space and studying in this space, I know at UC Berkeley, we have been having a lot of conversations about this, you know, with our faculty, with our curriculum, with our career management groups. But I think there's some really clear trends that we can see that aren't going away despite the significant policy changes that we're seeing at the federal level here in the United States. So yes, changes in government regulation are definitely happening. I think looking at any career or industry that is significantly or was significantly relying on government support and intervention to get off the ground is probably going to be much more challenging. But what we're not seeing, I would say in general, is a loss of investment more broadly across companies and asset managers into climate spaces. And so I think the places you can really see that obviously are, as Stu just said, in energy, in renewable energy, that continues to grow. We see significant numbers of students interning and then going on to roles here at UC Berkeley in the renewable energy space. Similarly, across finance and insurance and investment, managing climate risk in investments is not a space that's going away anytime soon. We're also continuing to see a lot of companies who I would say are hiring around technical skills. So now more than ever, having a general, broad, nice to have understanding of sustainability in a company is not so needed. We've been really moving out of that phase in large companies and now smaller companies for many years of having a sort of know-all director of sustainability within a company. We're seeing companies hiring much more technical roles, people with a scientific understanding of resource management, of supply chain management, of carbon management. And tied into that, function being really important. As Stu said, supply chains, investment, these are areas where, having both an understanding of the kind of climate components of that particular function, but also more broadly, how a company might operate in a particular area is really important. So I think no, we're definitely seeing continued hiring. We're definitely seeing continued pressure from Europe and from Asia. And so I don't think people should change their career plan, but I do think you should be asking questions of the schools that you're considering of, how are they pivoting their career support? How are they looking at tackling these questions when you're looking at what MBA program might be right for you?
Thanks, Kat. Next question. I'm a career switcher. I think a lot of us going into MBA programs are. Besides those MBA fundamentals, what kinds of additional skills would help me prepare for a post-MBA career working on climate issues? Are there technical skills that MBA should proactively learn?
So I believe we're going to answer this question in twofold. I'll give the floor to my colleague first, and then I'll take over.
Indeed. Thank you, Helen. Indeed. And I think this is one of the distinctive features of Climate Cap programs and us at HEC Paris, so that we're really trying to inculcate and infuse sustainability into a net role. And that requires a lot of skills. But I think for newcomers or career switchers, as in the questions is mentioned, it's really, really important to recognize that landing a role in sustainability or climate in industry, in impact companies or in traditional companies is not straightforward for MBA students or for management students in general. So because the pre-experience that is required in this type of roles is not always at the same level of fully devoted professionals who are more of on the technical ground. But one of the key tactics for career switchers is really to focus on transferable skills in the sector of interest. And I think our speakers have just shared wonderful examples of how this is done. But just take a look at what recent studies are telling you. Just a LinkedIn 2024 Global Climate Tech Stocktake says that sustainable business strategies is one of the fastest growing green skills in Europe, at least, and of course MBA programs are focusing on giving those acumen of skills to them. And Helen, you can certainly tell them more specifics about those transferable skills or those specific skills that, for example, we can give in our MBA program.
Sure. So what I would really say is that for me, this field, first of all, requires vocabulary that not all executives have in the world today. We regularly see that despite the fact that, it's on the news every single day, very few executives actually, understand with some depth the common vocabulary around climate change and sustainability at large. And this is one thing that we definitely want to do in an MBA program. We give the right vocabulary and deep understanding of that. So that's a specific skill beyond the core. And then, of course, with many different ways, we want to give, hands-on experience and understanding of the climate and sustainability issues in companies. So, for example, not all MBA programs look exactly the same, but there are some fundamentals. You can, for example, as a student, go for a specific specialization where you're going to deep dive, for example, in developing, sustainable strategies. There are also a number of programs that are going to offer the opportunity to work with climate-related startups, because a lot of schools, of course, have entrepreneurship programs, and there is a lot and a boiling environment in, climate-related startups that are usually very related with deep tech, and they need the MBA skills to complement their technical skills. The third thing that can happen is, of course, to work and develop expertise with capstone projects, which exist in many MBAs, which are personal projects that you can link to your career goals. So that's another hands-on, type of opportunity. And of course, there are all sorts and series of electives that all programs offer, where you can actually deep dive in, specificities that are relevant for MBAs. And lastly, I would say that we see emerging a number of tests that are certifying tests, the equivalent of the TOEFLs for the English language, that are helping you as MBAs bring to the market some proof that you are, fluent in climate change and sustainability, that a number of MBAs offer as well.
Thank you so much. For our next question, what should I be doing in the year before I apply to business school to prepare for my transition into climate? What should I be doing this summer before school starts?
Thanks, Jessica. If you're still in that early stage, the most important thing is to start connecting the dots between your current experience and the climate space. Now, that doesn't mean you have to quit your job tomorrow and go work for a climate startup, but as Kat pointed out, you'll need to have general sustainability strategy knowledge, but you also need more technical skills aligned with a specific area of business or policy. So now is a great time to learn how your skills, whether in finance, operations, policy, or tech, can translate into the work being done to solve the climate crisis. That could look like joining a volunteer project, helping with the startup's business model, or even writing or researching about an issue that you care about. That could be energy access, sustainable food systems, circularity, climate finance, whatever speaks to you. And as you're exploring, start thinking about your story. What connects your past experiences, your values, and the change that you want to make? That clarity will help you in your exploration of MBA programs and during the admissions interviews, but also in making decisions about how you spend your time here once you're in a program. And I just want to make one quick plug for a fantastic resource to check out if you haven't already, from our colleagues at Duke, which is called MBA Edge. And I'll share the link in just a moment, but this can be a fantastic tool as you start that exploration phase. The other thing I'll mention is to start building relationships. Reach out to folks working in roles that interest you and ask them how they got there. Now, what should you do the summer before school starts? Now is a great time to lay the foundation for your pivot. You will never again have this much unstructured time, so please use it wisely. Start building your climate fluency, read newsletters like the Daily Climate or Inside Climate News. And this is a great moment for some additional self-exploration. What types of sustainability roles are you most interested in? What skills might you need to strengthen to get there? What kind of summer internship would best support your longer-term goals? Taking the time now to reflect on your interests and map out some early targets, both in terms of skills and recruiting, can really set you up for success once the pace of school kicks in. And if you have the capacity, start reaching out to second years or recent alumni from your program who are working in climate. Ask what courses, clubs, or internships help them the most. Unlike some traditional career paths, most people working in climate want to help each other. And if you're not sure what part of climate speaks to you, energy, food, cities, tech, That's okay. This is the time to be curious and explore. And most of all, give yourself permission to not have it all figured out yet. You're about to enter an incredibly rich ecosystem of people working on these problems from every angle. So show up, be ready to learn, and willing to experiment.
Great advice, thank you. For our next question, what ways can I build my climate expertise outside of the classroom? Lynn?
Excellent, thank you. The beginning of this will very much build on what Jen Graham just said, because the way I think about this are things that you can do to start now that you should continue to do while you're at business school. And really that is a way of starting to answer the about, you know, how do you dive deep? Where do you start? Really starting with a lens of looking for inspiration and a problem-solving lens. And so I always suggest that people start by scraping climate podcasts, as well as major conferences that have existed in the past, and keep an eye on who is speaking, specifically what was their career journey and what problem are they trying to solve, and see what inspires you to learn more about those specific individuals, follow them on LinkedIn, but also really just get a sense of what are people really doing and really talking about. Conferences, you know, downloads from Climate Week, both in New York and San Francisco. As Jessica mentioned, the Climate Cap Symposium, the recorded conference talks from that are really interesting. And you really get a sense of who's doing what, and having that specific inspiration and refreshing that knowledge throughout, you know, your year leading up to starting an MBA program and throughout your time there can really help. I mean, the HBS Climate Rising podcast ends every episode with the guest's, career journey. And I think that is intended to really help you know, give some inspiration of the various ways that people got to where they were and where they're hoping to go and the problems they're hoping to solve. So I think that's a lot of ways that you can get informed. There are relatively affordable online options from Terrado, for example, that will really help with specific skills if you're so inspired to do so. And there are a number of other online learning options that you can take on before you get to campus. But once you're in campus, there's a variety of programs at different schools, but generally speaking, keeping up with who's talking about what via podcasts and conferences, but also when you're on campus, find your people when you get there, and creating that network with peers on campus is one of the best things that you can do. And you can do that right off the bat by finding out the relevant student clubs. Every one of these schools that's involved with Climate Cap has very active student clubs in a variety of topics that relate to climate. So join those clubs, get involved, help plan conferences if the clubs are involved in that. Dive into the faculty research what faculty are doing at your own school, and really learn about the nuances. Some are really deep in circular economy, others in climate finance, and otherwise. Take advantage of research opportunities, do independent projects in your second year when possible, and attend as many events as you can and as you're allowed to. Climate Cap obviously being a great example, Climate Weeks in New York, London, San Francisco, other places. There are a number of ways to also work across your universities and look at programs or look at other universities in the area. HBS students often take classes at MIT and vice versa. So look at opportunities to go outside of even your own campus. And most importantly, tap into your alumni network. Tap into the alumni network of your undergraduate institution. You can do that starting now. Really see who's doing what. Alumni are always, as Jen and others have mentioned, very, very happy to help in this area. So tap into your alumni network wherever you came from already and wherever you wind up for your MBA program. And just consistently, everything you hear and see and do, look at it to be inspired, and really think about what problem the individuals speaking are trying to solve and what part of that problem speaks to you.
Great. Thank you, Lynn. Next, what learning resources will be useful to me as I seek to build my expertise in climate? Are there conferences, are there industry events that MBA students find valuable to attend?
Yeah, so I think there's a little bit of overlap in a great way with what Lynn just covered, which I think shows the value in a lot of these resources. I think if you're looking, so great, everything that you were saying, Lynn, super great. If you're looking to build real fluency in climate as a prospective MBA student, you know, my biggest piece of advice is don't limit yourself by waiting to see what's going to be covered in class when you get there. The climate space is fast moving and interdisciplinary. So engaging with the right external resources is really going to set you apart. So I would start with podcasts. I agree. I love Climate Rising. That's why I said, Lynn, I'm so glad. I mean, it's obvious why you mentioned it, but like, I love it. Business focus, practical insights from entrepreneurs and executives. And I should mention, don't worry about capturing, because I was really tactical with answering this question. I'll make sure that all of these resources are available for you to capture. But Climate Rising is one of my favorite podcasts. The Climate Question, BBC. Outrage and Optimism is really great. As you can tell from that title, it's one that has a mix of like hope and urgency around climate action, how to save a planet. And I think starting with podcasts is so great. They're just an easy way, obviously, to absorb the current thinking from leaders in the field while you're running or just, you know, in the car or whatever you're doing on your daily commute back and forth to work. So podcasts are really effective way to absorb the information. For like websites and blogs, I would check out Carbon Brief, Real Climate, Bloomberg Green, Project Drawdown, and really digest them. Take a look, read, look at the data, make sure that you understand it. And think of things that are really interesting to you about it and come up with questions. For books, I would check out Speed and Scale, The Ministry for the Future. The Uninhabitable Earth is one of my favorite reads by David Wallace Wells. And then also This Changes Everything, which is also really great by Naomi Klein. And then also, you know, again, another nod to Lynn. If you can, I would attend Climate Cap, obviously. Green Biz, New York, NYC Climate Week, or any of the climate weeks. It just makes sense to gain insight, meet future collaborators, and see how leaders across industries are responding to the crisis. You just get a chance to meet other people. And finally, I'm going to make a little joke here. Go out and touch grass. You know, a lot of times people say that like, you know, to kind of maybe take a dig at somebody, but I mean it honestly. Go out and touch grass. Disconnect from your phone for a bit. Go engage with the world around you. Visit your local museum, your nature center, or science exhibit. For example, here in Chicago, just like a 2 or 3 minute walk from the Booth campus, the Griffin Museum of Science and Industry has an incredible exhibit called The Blue Paradox, which explores the impact of plastic pollution in our oceans. It's immersive, it's eye-opening, and it's really inspiring. We just had a super big talk and event about around it for students. And you got to ask yourself, what's local wherever you're at? And I think the most powerful climate education comes from stepping outside and just seeing the issue up close. The sooner you start engaging with the ecosystem, the more prepared you're going to be to lead in it. So that's the advice that I have, and I'm ready to pass it off.
Thank you so much, Kia. For our next question, I think I want to go into a traditional business school career after graduation. Are there ways for me to still bring my passion for addressing climate change into those roles?
Thanks, Jessica. So I actually love this question so much. I think that oftentimes when you think about climate roles or sustainability, you think that needs to be in your title. And I think the beauty of climate is that it's really a systems solution, right? So in so many different ways, you can be a part of this. And so I like to think that we need cheerleaders in all aspects. So whether you're in operations, whether you're in finance, if you're in HR, all of these different roles have a specific way in which they interact with climate. And so when I speak with students, oftentimes I say, I don't need all of these CSOs. While it's great and I get excited, we need future business leaders that really understand how you can be integrated into these different aspects. So for example, if you're working in the operations sector, you can really make a a huge difference by enabling the sustainability team. And so I would encourage people to not just think about having climate in your title. And Project Drawdown says this really well of saying, every single job is a climate job. And I really believe that because we need system solutions to figure out this systems problem. So I'd really encourage you to think about how you can entrepreneur and really all of us scheming together to really make business a better place. So I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Joe, to take this from a careers perspective as well.
Thank you, Leanne. So when I think about it with the careers and a recruiting take, it's super important about integrating that passion you have for climate into your professional narrative, because that will ultimately set you apart, especially in the interview process and conversations with employers. A lot of these traditional roles too are also increasingly looking for candidates who bring different perspectives, whether it's an ESG, climate risk, long-term impact. So I think what's important here, it's not just about the possibility, but the strategic side of it. I think another thing to keep top of mind too, and it's something when we see with a lot of students, is the focus of when you're working with these or talking with these employers, it's about them interviewing you, but you should also be interviewing them, asking them questions of what they're doing within their specific role or within their specific company. I think that's super important as you're navigating these type of careers as well, because you do want to make sure that ultimately these companies do align with your mission and values. I say time and time again when we work with our students is that it's important to understand the roles you're interested in and the companies that you're interested in. And ideally, you want to find those two marrying together. You want to be working in a role that you're passionate about, but also aligned with the company's mission of what they're trying to do, not only short term, but long term in this space. I think time and time again, when it comes to the recruiting side, it's like, I want to land a position, but it's not just about landing a position, it's landing the position. And by doing that is being able to set yourself apart about what is passionate in your eyes. And that's something that's going to be very enticing on the employer front as well.
Thank you, Leanne and Joe. Next, I am interested in clean energy and climate tech, and I know that most of these employers are not likely to recruit on campus. What are some of the best strategies for networking with these employers? What strategies do you recommend for MBAs to build a strong climate-focused network? Gregory.
Thank you. I think the first thing here is really to understand that clean energy and climate tech are big top level categories, and you can drill down almost like a Mandelbrot set and just keep on drilling down, and you'll see that there is more specificity you can get to. So if you say, hey, I'm interested in clean energy, well, is it wind? And if it's wind, is it terrestrial, on land, or is it marine, offshore? And on down. So getting specific is important. We heard already about some resources that can be used for that. I think Speed and Scale is great. The Climate Cap Careers Map is fantastic. MBA Edge is another great resource, as well as the Hull and IQ taxonomy of climate tech. So you want, and because of climate tech, again, it's huge. You need to get specific in order to do your networking, which is the next thing. We heard about leveraging alumni networks. Of course, that's a great, easy first place to start. Depending upon the niche that interests you, there may or may not be alumni who've done that. But what we do know is that MBAs who've already been down this road are very generous with their time and want to get more MBAs into this space. So they are a perfect resource to tap. But also tapping broader communities is a great way to go at this, because you might not have an alum who's in that specific niche. In terms of communities, there is Open Door Climate, where you can schedule appointments with people who have basically said, hey, these are my office hours to talk about my career. MCJ, My Climate Journey, the Work on Climate Slack community, tremendous opportunity. That's all online. And this is not a career search that you can do simply from behind a keyboard. So we heard about touching grass, but there's also getting out there and pounding the pavement and meeting with people. So finding events that you can attend in your own city, and there are plenty of them, whether that's a climate tech meetup, whether there's a climate tech incubator there, something like 9-0, a climate tech co-working space, as well as conferences that might be taking place either on your campus or beyond. Finding events that you can attend every month or at least every quarter to actually meet people in person and have those conversations. And then there are the specialized climate jobs boards. So things like climatebase.org, climatetechlist.com, Ed's Green Job List, another great resource. And even if you're not in the moment in that job search for full time, reading those job descriptions will help you narrow in on the kinds of companies or industries where your skills will be a good match or where you will be excited to do that work. Lastly, I would say investing in how you show up online. You're doing research, you're meeting with people. Can you synthesize the ideas that you're hearing and present them online, either on a blog or on LinkedIn, preferably on LinkedIn, where you can build some social capital, a media presence there. And when you are then meeting with people in that space and they look you up before that meeting, they will see that you are engaged and interested and deeply involved in this space. So these are the ways that you can narrow in on a focus in clean tech, in clean energy, and then begin building that network so that you learn about jobs before they are even posted, or you have inside connections in those organizations when those jobs are posted.
Thank you so much, Gregory. Great advice. We've got 2 more questions to go over. So our next question is, what are some of the common elements of a successful transition into a climate career? Maddie, you're going to kick us off.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Maddie. I'm an incoming second-year student at Emory Goizueta, and a lot of the other panelists have done a really excellent job in setting me up for success when answering this question, as a lot of their answers are really applicable. So I want to echo Jen's point of having a really great why to your narrative that's compelling and comprehensive, not just as a candidate getting into an MBA, but as a candidate in the recruiting process. It helps make you more memorable when you have something associated with your brand that really ties you to climate as both a personal and like professional pursuit. And then I think something that has been really emphasized here is just the need for constant learning, because climate careers move really quickly with all of the wonderful research that people are doing, and it often involves numerous stakeholders. So finding ways to stay on top of current trends in the industry that you're trying to join. So some of the resources that have been mentioned today are a really great starting point, as well as just strengthening your communication skills to where you can share those trends or your work with various stakeholders who have differing levels of understanding of climate subjects are really going to help serve you really well during that transition. And I'll pass it over to Brian to talk more about what you can do during your MBA in order to help with that transition.
Yeah, thank you, Maddie. Yeah, a couple of things to kind of build on the why and that constant learning is some of the easy things, taking classes that are offered. I can't tell you how many times we have students really passionate, but feel like I can't dig deep into that. I must just have, the core kind of standard business pieces. So embrace what is offered, not just in the business domain, but think about all the amazing courses that are offered to you at your university, right? In the policy arena, environmental science arena, and more. I think the best business leaders that we see in this space that we're hearing from can understand complexity. They can hold tension really well and define it, and they're great systems thinkers. So I would explore that. There's great offerings outside your business school and within. Jump into those co-curricular and extracurricular opportunities. I think we've heard a lot about that today, but our students really come back from case competitions like those at Rice University around clean tech energy, or CU Boulder, this year. Those are really real opportunities to learn, to meet professionals, to build your networks, but also find others that are peers that are part of the movement. This is really a movement, so people are leaning in and helping each other, which is fantastic. And I will say, building on what Stuart said, be open to exploring, beyond the cruise ships, right? There's niches within all those groups, but, you have an internship, you have a full-time opportunity. There's various ways to immerse and do special projects. So think about those sailboats, think about some of the opportunities around infrastructure, utilities, economic development, agriculture, government, and more. And, the third vessel we talk about, I guess, is the whitewater raft. There's some exciting but thrilling rides right now, particularly in the startup community. And I will say, lean into your ecosystem. Beyond Emory alums, our students are reaching out to people in this ecosystem, and people are embracing them. There's open office hours. Again, people want to invite you to the movement. Your generation matters and is critical. So get involved in all the summits and activities. You'll find you have a lot of expertise already within you. You know a lot of the vocabulary, and you know, you're welcome to that table. So, you know, dig in, engage, know your why, but dig into all the opportunities. There's a lot out there.
Thank you. And for our last question, are there ways for me to act as a climate champion while I'm an MBA student? Melissa?
Thanks, Jessica. Yeah, happy to be the caboose on the Q&A train here today. And want to, you're going to hear me echo some of the things that some other folks have already shared, but I do really want to encourage each and every one of you to empower yourself to do exactly this, to be a climate champion, no matter which school you wind up at. This can take many shapes and forms, ranging from more passive engagement opportunities to much more active and engaged action and leadership. So the first easy kind of low-hanging fruit here is just to ask questions and to bring up climate in conversations in class. This sends a really powerful signal to faculty that students want to understand how climate will play a role in their decision-making and their actions and their leadership, and encourages faculty to integrate climate into their curriculum. Also encourage you to research and ask prospective employers about their climate and sustainability commitments. It's a demonstration to that potential employer that climate is a salient issue for students and for their workforce more broadly. Others have talked about joining and leading clubs. There's many national clubs such as, Net Impact, for example, and, each school has their own school-specific clubs that may be focused on specific industries or sectors such as energy or finance, or venture, and that's a great way to really do a deep dive into climate, and to learn a great deal that you may not, content that may not be available to you in the classroom. Also really encourage you to think about your campus as a living laboratory. You have the opportunity to engage with or contribute to sustainability efforts on the campus. There's major issues and opportunities to pull some major levers around things like operations, procurement, energy, supply chain. Campuses make great learning labs and present an opportunity for you to start to flex your MBA skills and your MBA muscles in an immediate way. You can also, encourage you to organize and lead sessions for other MBAs within your school. We see students do this all the time. It's an opportunity for you to curate and deliver content to students and to yourself that you may not be getting in the classroom. And one final just suggestion to think about when you do wind up in your MBA program is to think about case writing. I encourage you to reach out to your professors, the faculty members within the school, and offer to help them write some case studies that are centered around climate and sustainability issues. This is a tremendous opportunity to help embed climate into the curriculum, not only at your own school, but at other schools more broadly. And it's one that we've seen faculty respond quite positively to.
Thank you so much. Wow, you just got some of the best advice out there. So I'm really grateful to all of our speakers and school representatives for sharing their expertise on those topics. We will be sharing the recording of this out on our website and through our newsletter probably within a week or so. So if you want to come back and hear anything or kind of just to refresh yourself later on in the year, we will have all of this available. And I think that we can all agree that there are absolutely incredible opportunities for students to integrate climate into their MBA, and it can look a lot of different ways. And that integration can ultimately be in your careers in this new climate economy. And as we're transitioning away from this event today, I hope you leave here inspired and energized and ready to use your career to contribute to climate solutions. We like to say as MBA graduates, you have an incredible opportunity to strategically and thoughtfully lead your organizations through the biggest business issue, and I might argue human issue of the 21st century. And I'm also sure that the questions we've discussed today have led you to have many more questions. So in just a moment, we're going to transition to the breakout portion of our session. And before we go, as a reminder, there are many ways to get involved with Climate Cap. Many of you have already elected to join our newsletter, but highly recommend that you do that if you have not already. You can sign up on climatecap.org, and that'll help you stay up to date with any kind of climate MBA news, events, resources, and more. You can also see our LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube channels where we post our recordings. So with that, I'm going to